As we start this level 2 yoga class today, feel into your own body, your own breath, your own mind and heart. We come together to practice yoga, and then we take the practice with us into the rest of the day. Thank you all for being here for each other and sharing your living energy today. I invite you to turn your gaze inward, the practice of pratyahara, and to feel the sensations of the breath as it enters your nostrils, flows through your nasal passages, moves into your throat and your lungs. Can you be really present with the sensations that come with the breath? Feel for everywhere your body moves, even just slightly with the breath. And then notice if there are places you don't feel the breath moving. Or if there are places you would like to invite the breath to go during the practice today. Feel even into the periphery of your body, the tips of your fingers and toes. Notice the sensations there, inviting awareness and inviting prana to flow. Can you feel this life force moving through your body as rivers of energy? I've been reading poetry to prepare for my dad's celebration of life, and I found this poem last night by Mary Oliver. Such singing in the wild branches. It was spring, and finally I heard him among the first leaves that I saw. Then I saw him clutching the limb in an island of shade with his red-brown feathers all trim and neat for the new year. First I stood still and thought of nothing. Then I began to listen. Then I was filled with gladness. And that's when it happened, when I seemed to float, to be myself a wing or a tree. And I began to understand what the bird was saying. And the sands in the glass stopped for a pure white moment, while gravity sprinkled upward like a rain rising. And in fact, it became difficult to tell just what it was that was singing. It was the thrush for sure, but it seemed not a single thrush, but himself and all his brothers, and also the trees around them, as well as the gliding, long-tailed clouds in the perfect blue sky. All of them were singing. And of course, yes, so it seemed, so was I. Such soft and solemn and perfect music doesn't last for more than a few moments. It's one of those magical places wise people like to talk about. One of the things they say about it that is true is that once you've been there, you're there forever. Listen, everyone has a chance. Is it spring? Is it morning? Are there trees near you? And does your own soul need comforting? Quick then, open the door and fly on your heavy feet. The song may already be drifting away. Let's feel for that song. That unites us. Bird to tree to cloud to artist to writer to the generations yet to come. Let's inhale our hands to our hearts. May we be present and listen for the song. Namaste. Okay, let's move these bodies. Let's come up and just begin with a gentle sway. Let your arms gently swing in front of you. And perhaps the left arm lifts left and the right arm forward when we lean left. Perhaps we come off our feet and we let ourselves become light like the birds in the trees, floating, flying, feeling into the music inside the body as the blood begins to pump a little bit more. Let's stay aware of the breath, moving in and out. And then let's quiet the feet and let the arms circle skyward and back down again. And let's inhale them up in the stretch and exhale them earthward. And just feel for the body moving. And perhaps the arms circle lower, but we do shift weight gently from side to side with the circling movement so that the whole body becomes part of the circle. And the fascia gets to stretch as we change balance on our feet, inviting our awareness to be aware of how the balance shifts as the body moves and leans from side to side. Let's pause, arms low, and inhale up the other direction. And shift the weight gently side to side. Feel the weight shift across the feet. All the different muscles and bones in the feet shifting, which then impacts the shift in the knees and the hips and the spine. Feeling into the miracle this body is. The song it can sing when it stretches open. Let's step the feet into Tadasana and inhale, lifting the arms. Some of you may instead put your hands on your hips, stretch tall through the top of the head, and lean slightly to the right, stretching the left side body open. Plant all four corners of both feet. Feel for lifting the arches evenly from the inside of the foot and the outside arch so that you keep the knee healthy and balanced. Inhale back to center. Feel the inner arch of both knees or both feet supporting the knees. Feel the outer arches of both feet supporting the knees. And inhale back to center and release your arms to your sides. And inhale, float one foot up in front of you and exhale it down and let your wings open. Perhaps you just lift to the toe. Perhaps you lift the foot in front of you and let it float up, inhaling and exhaling. Feel into the four corners of your standing foot, balancing, and how that balancing act of the foot impacts the knee and the hip. Fluid breath. Notice if you're light on one of the four corners, and see, can you bring your full attention to grounding that corner as you land the next foot and inhale up the other side. Fluid breath. Now feel into the upper body. Can it be relaxed and graceful, full of ease, as we invite the energy to flow through us with our movements today? We stay with curiosity, not condemnation. Oh, that corner will never ground. I feel that sometimes when I'm on carpet, which I am today. But I keep feeling for, oh, how do I ground them evenly, maintaining my arches, and release your leg, and just again flow side to side. And then begin to circle the shoulder back as you flow towards the side you're circling. And then maybe it's the elbow. And we stretch the fascia open. We invite space for the bones to float inside the body. Because it's in that floating, I think, that the song comes inside our physical form. And then you've opened as much as you'd like, and let's inhale, rooting the feet, reach skyward, lifting the heart, root your tailbone. Interlace your fingers behind the head and reach the elbows skyward, tractioning the base of the skull with your thumbs. Root your tailbone and lift that bottom rib ring and see, can you grow the thoracic spine of the rib cage longer with a lifted heart, lifted towards those clouds in the sky, rooting the tailbone, unfurl the arms and reach each finger skyward. Let your feet move towards the center of the earth and your hands up into the stars. And then exhale, hands back to the heart. And pause in mountain pose with your breath. And step your feet wide. Turn your left foot out and right heel back. And float down into your Virabhadrasana 2, palms up, inhale. And exhale, draw the energy down through the body. And inhale. And exhale. And continue breathing and opening. Feeling for the breath in the periphery of the body. Inviting any ice dams in your system to break open in the spring thaw so the energy can flow. So we can release dis-ease from the body on the exhales. And then float your wingspan open and let your gaze rest out over the front fingertips. Let your hyoid bone rest into the neck and your eyes rest into their sockets. Right fingertips light on the back leg, left palm lifts, dancing warrior. Relax the shoulders and find space in the neck. It's not about how far we back bend. It's about creating and opening a posture where that song can flow through. And exhale. Left hand to the femur, right arm alongside the ear, Parsvottanasana prep, broad across the shoulders. Maybe you come lower to your forearm. And exhale, bow the heart towards earth. And inhale, lift the heart towards the heavens. Feeling into the four corners of each foot. Feeling up the legs. Fluid breath. Feeling through the pelvis and along the spine. Out the arms. We become conscious of the whole. Exhale, back up to your Vira 2 and draw the right arm around towards the left hand and exhale it through. And follow the moving arm with your gaze as you circle, inhaling forward and exhaling back. Four corners of the feet still planted, three arches lifting, fluid breath. The foundation creating the possibility for free movement in the upper body. Let's pause with our gaze towards the back fingers, resting the eyes again into their sockets, and release the arms, straightening the front leg. Let's turn it in. Turn the right foot out and open. And exhale, Virabhadrasana 2. And inhale, palms up. Exhaling, pure energy down through the body. Keeping your spine straight up out of the pelvis, like a tree growing out of the bedrock, reaching for the sky. We inhale. And we exhale, draw healthy energy through the body as a cleanse. And you draw it into the back of your lungs. And you draw it into the side bodies. And pausing with your wings open, rest them wide, gaze out over the front fingertips. Just pausing for this pure moment to feel your own body in space. Back fingertips light on the back leg, front palm up, dancing warrior, broad across the shoulder girdle, long in the neck. Feel for finding ease in the pose. How much energy do I use? Where do I find that balanced point of the pose? And then exhale, right hand to right femur, left arm up, long Parsvottanasana. Perhaps you come lower and bow, heart towards earth, and inhale, heart towards sky. And bow and lift and bow and lift and bow and lift back to neutral and float back up to your Viratu, pausing. Balance the pose. How much hug do you want at the shoulders? How much relax? How much hug do you want of the legs into the pelvis? How much extension out of the pelvis? Work with finding where the energy will flow best through the pose. And then straighten the front leg, turn it in, step together. Feel into the pulsations in your own body. Okay, let's bring in our blocks or bring in our chair for sun salutations. Standing before the blocks or the chair seat or the dresser or the bed rail. Inhale, float your arms up. And exhale, Utkatasana, fierce pose. Look down at your feet, parallel at the second metatarsals. Knees opened up over your second metatarsals. We build strength in the legs in healthy alignment. Shoulders relaxing, neck long. Fingertips come to the props, and we inhale, lift the heart, and exhale, step the right foot back, lowering the back heel, float the arms up, Virabhadrasana 1, and exhale, wings broad, float the heart forward, bowing towards earth. Following your own breath, inhale skyward, and exhale the release. And feel how You're moving the lymph in the arms, in the chest, in the armpits, how you're moving the lymph by compressing and releasing in the front groin, all while standing on a sturdy foundation. And then inhale back up to your Virabhadrasana 1, broad across the shoulders, heart lifted. Root the tailbone back towards the back heel. And pause in the pose. See if you can relax into the pose and let the energy hum through you. And then exhale, hands down to your props, blocks on medium, step back plank, and rock across the toe box if that's okay for you. And pause and float one leg up behind you. And release and float the other. And release and lower the knees and lift the feet and lift the heart. And take the lower jaw in front of the upper jaw, stretching the neck and throat. Fluid breath. Inviting the energy to move through all tissues in the body. Feel for tissue you're not always aware of, or offer loving kindness to tissue you know needs support. And then exhale, float back, child's pose. Now, if you're on the chair, you'll just draw your pelvis back, extending the spine. If you're on the block, same thing. Keep the armpits buoyed so you don't have to come really low in the shoulder girdle, but you're stretching back with the tailbone, opening the fascia around the spine and in the side waist, the fascia of the ribs and shoulders. Fluid breath. Feel into the tissues, the sensations, pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. Listening to any messages you need to heed. And also realizing there are multiple sensations available for our awareness all the time. You may want to rock your pelvis slightly back and forth. My blocks are lifting off in the front a little bit as I rock, side to side. And then roll yourselves back up and roll back into your downward dog. And float one leg up behind you. Just reach from the hands out into the heel of the lifted foot. Pelvis, hug the midline. Form the banks of your river from the side bodies, shoulders, hips, even outer legs. And step the first foot down, grounding the four corners or onto the ball of the foot, balanced from big toe to pinky toe. Lift the other side. Pelvis balanced, shoulders balanced. They all interact with each other. And then we step down and walk our feet towards the blocks, heels under sit bones, inhaling, hands to the heart. Exhaling, twisting gently one direction, knees staying aligned over the second metatarsals. Exhaling the twist and inhaling to center. We go side to side, keeping the lower body very firm, inviting movement in the upper body, inviting the intestines to move, the organs to get a gentle twist, the fluids in the body to flow. Come back to center and let your arms swing. And inhale, reach for the sky. Reach each finger as you root the tailbone. Come into your standing back bend. If you'd like, interlace the fingers the funny way and traction the skull with the thumbs. Really rest the head back a little more, lengthening your thoracic spine. Now, you don't have to be coming into a back bend. You can be really tractioning. Those of you with osteoporosis, This is the safest direction to bend because you have strong spinous processes on the back, unlike the front. But still, we don't want big bone-on-bone compression. So we breathe into opening and lengthening. And then perhaps we unfurl the arms. And then we exhale, Utkatasana. And we reach down for our props and inhale, lift our hearts. And exhale, step the left foot back, lowering the left heel, inhaling, rising the heart. And exhaling, bowing forward. And inhaling the lift. We feel into the four corners of the feet, the three arches, and how we can establish stable support for the knees and the pelvis so that the spine can find more freedom. The arms can float through space as we inhale up and exhale, release, humble warrior. Inhaling up one more time, stretch through the pose. Feel into the banks of your river. Feel into the prana moving through you, and make sure you're not stiffening so much that the prana can't break through. And then exhale. Hands to your props. Step back, downward dog. And walk your dog. And float one leg up behind you. You can stop with that or bend the knee and press the foot behind you, lifting the hip over the other hip. Coming into a spinal twist with your shoulders still parallel with the floor. Make sure that the shoulder you're twisting away from doesn't collapse inward. Keep that armpit strong. Exhale. Bringing this first foot down, float the next foot up behind you. Stacking hip over hip, press the foot behind you. Keep the shoulder you're twisting away from strong and lifted. Fluid breath. And then step down and walk your dog. And float forward into your plank. And if you'd like, lift one foot up behind you. Placing that down, lift the other. Placing that down, you can roll onto your knees or you can roll forward into upward dog, lifting your heart. Fluid breath into the whole length and strength of your spine. And then roll back, downward dog once again. Lower to your knees and float back, child's pose. Fluid breath. If you're on a chair, you're just tractioning the spine back. Wherever you are, you may sway the pelvis a little side to side, inviting the back spine, the back ribs and shoulders to open and stretch. Let's take a little pause in the sun salutation here and bring a block in under your right shin and do a little multifidi work. So the block comes in under your right shin. Your hands are beneath your shoulders and the other shin floats right next to the shin on the block. And we lower the floating shin towards the floor, and then we lift the pelvis to neutral. And we lower the floating shin and lift, and lower and lift. Feel into your obliques working in the front core, but also feel for muscles in the back stabilizing you as you lower this leg. These are called your multifidi, and they weave the vertebrae together. We want them strong, so we wake them up with a subtle movement, lowering the shin and lifting it back so they're right parallel to each other. One more time and pause. Now, float the lifted leg out behind you and lower the toes and lift the heel just as high as the buttock. If you lift into a back bend, you'll turn the multifidi off. So we just lower the toes and lift, lengthening from tailbone through top of head. We're waking up as much of the body as we can so that we can feel that song, that vibration and life force flow through us. You can stay with these, or you can bend your knee and now press the sole of your foot towards the sky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then lengthen the leg one more time and float the opposite arm forward into balance. I have a bed in my way, but my arm would be long if it could. And then release the arm, release the leg, step down off the block, and we'll switch sides. So now bring your left shin up, your right shin parallel, your wrists beneath your shoulders, and lower the shin and lift. You don't even need to get to the floor. You're just lowering almost to the floor and lifting. Feel what musculature has to work to help you rebalance the pelvis. What muscles work so you don't drop the leg. And if you don't have a consciousness of them, just really rest your attention into what is happening here. And then lift and float the legs straight out behind you and lower the toes, just lightly touching the floor. Lift the heel just as high as your buttock. Keep the pelvis balanced here. Keep the neck long, the front spine long. You can stay with these or bend the knee and press the sole of the foot skyward. Pressing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and lengthening out the leg. You can stay here or float the opposite arm up and find balance. And then release. Take your block back into position and float back up and back into your downward dog. And walk your dog knee to knee. A long spine. Fluid breath. Opening body. Step your feet towards your blocks, heels under sit bones. Inhale, Utkatasana. Exhale, gentle twist. And inhale to center. And exhale. And inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And inhale. And release your arms and reach for the sky. Come up onto the balls of your feet and pretend like there's a wall in front of you. Fingertips stuck to the wall. Lengthen your spine as you lower your heels and lower your pelvis. Find that length and release your arms into a taller mountain. Relax into your breath. Feel the energy coursing through your body. Perhaps it is even a hum. Okay, and then find a wall or a high piece of furniture. I conveniently have one right here. And we're going to step back into our half dog. Find length in your spine. What's kind of fun about using a piece of furniture, if it's heavy, is that you can traction away from it. If you're on the wall, you can do that too. It's just your hands will come off more easily. And then as you're ready with your long neutral spine, float one leg up behind you, Virabhadrasana 3. If your hands are on the wall, you may want to come to fingertips or even lightly release. If your hands are on a dresser or a bed rail or a chair, you could lift them up off. Now think of the multifidi work we just did. Keep your pelvis in your shoulder girdle balanced, lengthening from tailbone to top of head. Fluid breath. Where can you release tension you don't need? And then release the leg. Walk in towards your furniture or your wall, rooting your feet. Inhale, lift your heart. Shoulder blades on the back body. Let yourself lift into a standing cobra, tailbone rooting, shoulder blades lifting the heart from the back. Long back of the neck. Fluid breath. And then exhale. Walk back away again into your half dog. And for a moment, bend one knee and then the other. Take one hip back. Really stretch the fascia of the body open. And then as you're ready, float up your next leg. Standing strong on the four corners of your grounding foot. Look down at that foot. Are you balancing the foot side to side? And what is the impact on your knee? Fluid breath. This is going to be the focus of next week's workshop. How do the feet affect the knees? The knees affect the feet. Now find that lift underneath your spine, through the pelvis, up along the front of the spine, and perhaps you float your hands off the wall or off the furniture. Stay long from the base of the skull through your tailbone, strong along the channel of the spine. Fluid breath, relaxing where you might over-tense, and then stepping in and inhale. That lift to the heart, that standing cobra, rooting into the heels, lifting the low back ribs, lifting the shoulder blades to lift the heart, lifting the base of the skull long away from the shoulders. And then let's exhale back to standing and reach up our wall or our imaginary wall again, fingertips on the wall. Slowly lower the heels and the pelvis. Really think of expanding the waistline and the rib cage. Pause with your feet on the floor, breathing space between your vertebrae. Roll back away from the wall and release your arms back to mountain. Find your shoulder blades on the back body and that gentle lift to the heart so the hyoid bone can rest back and the base of the skull can lift. Fluid breath. Three-dimensional breath. Invite this breath now into your fingertips and toes. Feel for the movement of energy there. The pulsation of prana. And release. Okay, let's bring in our chair or our blocks and let's begin to do a little twisting opening. So let's begin seated and then we'll come to our revolved triangle pose, perhaps our revolved Ardha Chandrasana. Sit bones on the front edge of the chair. Open the knees. Breathe into the torso. Relax here for a moment. Let's begin with side body lengthening. So you may bring your blocks to the insides of your feet if you know you'll want to go low. Bring your left hand to your femur, to your knee, your right arm alongside the ear. Stretch your side body long. Now really stretch the left side body too, both side bodies long before you come any lower. Can you continue to lengthen the left side body like you're in a strong plank position? Breathe into stretching the right side body, which you may want to rainbow slightly. Some of you may come to the block inside your leg, stretching from the right sit bone through all the left fingers, and then relaxing into the stretch. Let's inhale, pulse the stretch, and exhale, relax the stretch. And then on your next exhale, float yourself back up, right hand to femur, left arm alongside the ear, both side bodies long. Perhaps we come lower, both side bodies long. We reach from left sit bone through all the fingers. And we relax on the exhale. And we inhale, stretching the myofascial network. And we exhale, relax. And we inhale, inviting space. And exhale, release, and perhaps the hand comes lower. Fluid breath. Feeling into sensations, pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. Listening to the body. If we realize, oh, I'm really overactivated there, I can do this, even the pulsation, with more ease. And then exhale back to center. And take the blocks forward. Bring the blocks just underneath the face. Let the right arm slide off the blocks and float right shoulder blade onto the ribs. Now strong into the four corners of both feet. Make the intention of keeping the left knee open as you lift the right wing. Fluid breath, expanding across the wingspan. Feel into where the breath may move the tissue inside the body, in the intestines, in the stomach, in the liver, in the kidneys. On exhale, release the right arm and float the left arm out. Left shoulder blade strong on the back. Make sure your right elbow isn't hyperextending as you open the wingspan. Keeping your right knee open behind you. Fluid breath. And then exhale, release. Take your blocks wider and forward as you forward fold into your wide-legged downward dog. The blocks can be wider than your shoulders if that helps you open across the shoulder girdle and release the neck. Try not to drop the head through and pinch in the inner armpit. The armpits stay buoyant, the four corners of the feet grounded, the knees opened over your second metatarsals. Fluid breath. And then draw your blocks back in, unhinge, walk your legs together, and rest one hand inside the other, thumbs touching. This is the mudra of the second chakra. The second chakra being our water element, the element of flow. Invite this energy you're cultivating to flow through your whole physical form today. Can you feel it humming? Can you feel it singing? And then take your legs around to the right, inhaling your hands to your heart. Lift the spine. And exhale, slowly twist to the left, bringing the back of the right hand against the left femur. Left arm open, left shoulder open. Looking out the far left corners of the eyes. Breathe deep into the abdomen. Invite the breath to move the tissue deep in the abdomen. Inviting the intestines to move with the breath. The lymph to move with the breath. Fluid through the kidneys to move with the breath. And then exhale, unwind, hands to the heart, and take your legs gently around to the left. Inhaling length to the spine, and exhaling the slow twist to the right. Right shoulder blade strong on the back. Left back of hand against leg, right arm open. Can you stretch across the wingspan we've been opening, breathing into the front chest? Breathing space between the vertebrae. We unwind and come back to sitting center. One hand resting in the other, thumbs touching. How much of your physical form are you now aware of? Can you feel heat and vibration in more of your body? And gently bring your right ankle up over your left femur bone. And inhale, sit tall. If this is too much for your knee, then you'll cross your legs here. If you do have your knee open in the figure four, make sure that your right foot is flexed, which will help you protect the lateral ligaments. Now inhale, grow taller, and maybe that's enough stretch in the right hip. Those of you who can go forward can begin to hinge forward. If you know you have the opening, you could bring your blocks down and let your hands rest on them. But don't try to get to the blocks or try to get to the floor. Let it be about honoring the body, your natural lumbar curve, your opening hip. Fluid breath. And then release yourself back up. Release this leg and bring the other leg up and open. You could be cross-legged or anywhere in between that and your figure four with a flexed left foot. We inhale tall and we hinge forward and pause. Can we breathe into the tissue and have it relax on the exhales? If so, we continue to hinge until we find that place just before the body can't open anymore. A fluid breath. Inviting relaxation on the exhales. Tissue, I feel you. I am now aware of you. Thank you for all the strength and support you provide. I'm also inviting increased blood flow right now, helping stretch you open so you'll remain supple. Fluid breath into the depths of the tissue. Relaxing on the exhales so energy can flow. And then unhinge. I'd like to do one last piece of work here. Sit forward on your chair for a moment and bring the foot under like we often do when we're starting our Ustrasana work. Only this time, bring the foot farther back with your toes pointing back. And then I slowly want you to draw the knee forward, stretching the front of your foot. So some of you may not be able to draw the knee far forward. Some of you will probably be able to come pretty far forward with your toes really curled back, feeling the stretch of the fascia in the front of your foot up the ankle into the shin. Fluid breath wherever you pause, don't overdo it. You can reach the hand of the pointed foot over the knee, and you can lift and stretch the musculature and the fascia on the front shin and into the front ankle and foot. So the hand is actually lifting the knee away from the floor as the toes are still pointing back. And this could be happening here too. You just have to support yourself. And then release that foot onto the floor and take the other foot back. Pointing the toe back, then draw the leg forward. See, is that stretch okay in my ankle, in the front of my foot? Come a little farther forward. Is that okay? When you start to feel the stretch, don't feel like you have to go to your ultimate extreme. Maybe pause for a few breaths, feeling the fascia open, and then bring it a little farther forward. If you're super flexible, I grew up doing gymnastics, you'll be able to bring the foot under the knee with your toes turned back. But don't do that if it feels like it's a strain or it's going to pull overly tight fascia. It's a way for us to open the fascia on the front of the foot. So again, we can feel that hum of energy flowing through the entire body, the entire inner landscape. Now step that foot down and come up to standing. And let's take the chair to the back left edge of the mat for our revolved triangle. So if you don't want to use a chair, you can take the block there. You can also do both. And then step your right foot forward into your rock step. We're going to go straight through our Parsvottanasana today. So we'll come into our rock step and plant our legs, heels sit bone distance wide, hips facing pretty much forward, but we're not going to crank them around. And then we inhale and reach skyward, and exhale, hinge forward from the hips, which we've already worked to open. And we bring our left hand down to our chair seat or to our block, parallel with the right foot, and float the right arm out. Pause here with the spine extended out of the hips, and think of drawing the front leg hip crease back. Think of the work you did with the multifidi, keeping the spine long and strong here. Hug in the banks of your river before you lift the arm. Lift the right arm and spread across the wingspan. All the while, root your feet into earth and lengthen the spine to the top of the head. Check in with the four corners of your feet, supporting the knees and the hips and the length of the spine, the opening of the shoulders and heart. Now feel into your pose. How can you find more ease even as the pose stays strong? And then exhale, release the lifted wing. Inhale, rise. Exhale, hands to the heart, mountain pose. Feel how the rivers on one side of the body through to the other side may be flowing now. And then let's try the other side. Stepping the left foot forward and the right foot back, we will be twisting towards the left leg. We take our rock step and we ground our feet as if we're walking down the trail forward, heels aligned with our sit bones, so that they honor the width of our pelvis. Inhale, lift the arms, and exhale, fold through your Parsvottanasana, bringing your right hand to your block or your chair seat, your left arm opening like a wing. Pause here. Feel into the back knee and make sure you're not hyperextending and that you have three arch foot support. And then as you're ready, open your wingspan. Check in with your grounding arm that you're not hyperextending an elbow. And invite the breath deep into the center of the body, into the lower two chakras. Rooting through the legs, grounding the first chakra, inviting flow, water element, second chakra. The fire of your will helps maintain the pose, third chakra. And we come up to the heart to listen for the music inside the pose, fourth chakra. And then release your lifted wing and float yourself back up. Exhale, step the feet together. Come into your mountain pose, resting into your back body. Release tension where it isn't needed in your fingers and your palms and your wrists. Align your femur bones over your tibia bones. Let your head rest back. Your shoulders relax broad. And come back to the breath. Okay, so we do have time for our revolved Ardha Chandrasana today. So this work that we did, I'm just going to show it to you one more time. I don't want you to do it. This work that we did where our knees were parallel to each other and we lowered and lifted, hopefully helps make us more aware of keeping the pelvis centered when we come into our revolved half moon pose. So we'll bring our chair forward, or I could use this bed rail, but I'm going to use the chair. And we'll come hands onto the seat, heels under sit bones in our tabletop. And we'll be floating, so I'm just going to show you in case you don't remember. The left foot up behind me and the right arm out. So it's a cross body lift. And I'm going to really work on keeping this left heel lifted so I keep my left pelvis stable. The multifidi work should have helped you do that. Can you keep that left hip lifted as the right arm lifts? So we don't come here, okay? Because look, that's going to strain the knee, roll me out on the outside of that foot, and strain the ligaments on the outer hip. We're going to stay strong in the banks of the river, hugging in. The pelvis will stay stable, and it's the spine that will twist, okay? All right, so go ahead. I'm going to watch you. Bring your hands onto the seat of the chair. Come into your tabletop. Now make sure your shoulders are over your wrists, nicely aligned, and your feet are under your pelvis. Some of you have your feet a little farther back. Walk them in a little. And really activate your core. Beautiful. Now float your right leg up behind you and point your toes towards the floor. Lengthen out of the heel. Beautiful. Now float your opposite arm off the chair and float the shoulder blade up onto your back ribs. Feel into your core strength from beneath the spine and really feel into lifting that lifted leg hip as you begin to open the twist and lift the wing. Now you could stay here and work your strength in this pose. You don't have to go into the twist. That's still going to wake up your multifidi and it's going to wake up your obliques. Okay, beautiful. But if you want to twist open, really continue to think of that hip lifting. Beautiful. These are really nice, nice work. And then exhale, release, and step down. Take an inhaled cow and an exhaled cat. And let your spine just stretch out. Just enjoy the movement. Fluid breath. Beautiful. And then as you're ready, let's lift the other side. Float your leg up. Left leg lifting behind you. Looks like toes pointing down. Lengthen from tailbone through top of head. You all look really long and strong. And then float the opposite arm up. Shoulder blade onto your back. Staying strong in the front core. There it is, the beginning of your Ardha Chandrasana, your revolved Ardha Chandrasana. If you want to float that shoulder blade up onto the back, then you begin revolving. Stay strong in the lifted hip. Yes, it's good work. Stretch out of the back heel and the back big toe ball mount. Really keep that leg long. Feel into the strength you're developing. Good. Length out through the top of the head. Keep that spine long. Beautiful. And release. Step down and inhale your cow and exhale your cat. Beautiful, everyone. Fluid breath. And then with your hands just on the seat of the chair, walk back into your downward dog, your lifted downward dog, and walk your dog. Bend one knee and then the other. Feel the sit bone reaching back and let your spine lengthen. Yeah. And then pause and step forward. Move the chairs out of your way. And let's do one more standing balance pose. We'll do Garud Asana Eagle Pose. And then we will move to the floor. Okay. So here we are, standing our right foot 1/3 of the way up the block with the block on the right side, the pinky toe side of our foot. We'll inhale and let's come back to our cranes. Just a few cranes to feel into the balance of your standing right leg. And then bring the left foot over to land on your block. Knees bending. We hug the inner thighs together or press this kind of outer knee shin into each other, whichever helps you balance better. Hug in the banks of your river and lift and lengthen up through the spine. And bring your right arm over your left arm, either back to back at the wrist or the hand, or bring your palms palm to palm. Breathe into the back body and see, can you float the left toe onto the left toe on the block? And perhaps float the toes off the block, standing strong on the four corners of your feet. We become the eagle, Garud Asana. You can stay here, or you can float your elbows towards your knees as if you were an eagle getting ready to dive for a fish, and float your arms skyward, lifting the leg and landing. Mountain pose. Relaxing into the mountain. Feel for the song blowing through the trees. I love Mary Oliver's line, if you've been there once, you'll be there forever. Can we let that feeling flow through us? And take the block to the other side. So remember, the block can be a little forward of your foot so that you can land the foot easily. And then inhale, wings lift, right foot lifts, and we take a few cranes, becoming more solid on the standing left foot, more aware of the four corners and three arches. And then we inhale up and step over and bring the legs together back to back, and bring left arm over right and come into your eagle pose arms. And breathe into your back body. Can your eyes rest back in their sockets and your hyoid bone rest back? A lot of people lean really far forward in this pose, so try coming back onto the back portion of your, let's see, standing leg foot. And then if you'd like to, begin playing with bringing the toes off the block. And if you'd like to, slowly begin to bring your elbows towards your legs. Release your wings and fly up and land. Mountain pose. Resting back onto your heels. Let your tailbone root. Breathe earth energy up the back body. Breathe the sky that surrounded the eagle into the body through the crown chakra. Invite the energy to flow. Invite your awareness of the hum. Okay, let's come down onto the floor. Please bring your yoga strap and blanket if you're going to need one to cover up, your bolster or your blanket to put under your pelvis in a few minutes. I think I left my yoga strap out around some doorknobs in another part of the house, so I'm going to use a TheraBand. And you may want your blocks as well. Okay, so please lie down on the floor and lift your right foot up into the TheraBand. Make sure that you have room to pendulum the foot and that you have room right to left to do some stretching with the leg. So we pendulum the foot up and down, maintaining our natural lumbar curve so that the femur bone works independently in the hip socket. And then we come to whatever height is best for us and hold the strap in the same hand as the lifted leg. And take the other leg long on the mat and open the opposite arm to a T. And then ground, that grounding side, that open arm, that pelvis, that heel, and take the lifted leg out. Stay strong in your core, low ribs grounding away from the opening leg. Open, and then exhale back to center. Now, if you'd like your block or your bolster to come out under the leg, bring it out. The closer it is to the hip, the more support you'll have earlier. The farther out you go, the more support you'll have later. And you can open as far as you like and then rest into the opening. Fluid breath. Relaxing the jaw and the muscles of the face, the eyes. Then draw energy right back into the center of the starfish, right into the pelvis, and exhale, draw the leg back to center. Take the strap in the opposite hand. Bring the lifted leg hand into the hip crease and press that femur bone towards the foot of the mat. And take the foot only as far across as you can with the pelvis still on the floor and flex and point the foot. Now we get into stretching the calf, the IT band, the outer hamstring. Feel how the movement of the foot affects the tension in the knee and in the hip. They're all connected. Now come back to center. Hold the strap in both hands and take your lifted leg towards the big toe side, down towards the foot of the mat and out to the pinky toe side and up towards the head of the mat. And draw a circle with your femur bone. Just let it circle a few times, inviting the energy to really flow through the tissues of the legs and the hip, inviting the lymph to flow down the legs. Pause at the top and take your circle the other way. And then pause at the top again. Hold the strap in the opposite arm. Open the hand of the lifted leg out in a T and open into a twist. Again, you can bring your bolster in under your body, under your leg. You could land your foot on a chair or on a wall. Those of you with osteoporosis, we're careful not to collapse into a twist where there's lots of bone-on-bone compression. We create space in the spine, and then we twist to the point where our body says, okay, right there is where we should stop. But those of us without osteoporosis, a little bone-on-bone compression can remind our bodies to build more bone density. So we can have opposite needs in the same class. Now bring the arm behind you over to help with the strap, to lift the leg, and bend the knee in towards your armpit. Half happy baby. You can stay here or open the foot alongside the ear in a bird's of paradise. Fluid breath. And then if your leg is straight, bend the knee again and release the foot from the band. Walk both feet into constructive rest and come into your somatic walking, lifting one side of your pelvis and then the other as you press into your feet. Fluid breath. And then come back to center and take your next foot up into the strap. And as you're ready, pendulum the foot up and down, keeping your neutral curve to your lumbar spine. We're opening the body, irrigating the tissue, inviting the spring rain to fall. Let's stop with the foot lifted and lengthen the other leg out. Take the foot across to the big toe side, down towards the foot of the mat, out to the pinky toe side, and let it circle. Just circle a few times. And then come back to your top. Take the strap in to the same side hand. Open the opposite arm out like a wing and ground that side as you open the leg out. Stay strong in the other side to balance the lengthening leg. Bring a block or a bolster in for support if you'd like them. And then rest into the opening stretch. Fluid breath. Are you over tensing anywhere you don't need to be in your hands or your face or your feet? The inner belly. Then activate from that center core to bring the leg back to center. Take the strap in both hands and circle again towards the pinky toe side this time, and then the foot of the mat, then the big toe side. As the leg circles, ground the opposite side. Use your core strength to allow for more freedom in the circling leg. And then come back to the top. Hold the strap in the opposite hand. Bring the same side hand to your hip crease and press that femur down the mat. As you bring the foot across the body, keep the pelvis on the floor so that you get into those deep hip muscles and flex and point the foot. This should help you stretch into the IT band, into the outer hamstring, into the deep hip muscles, into the calf. Notice what stretches on your body. You can also rock the foot, toe towards the head, heel towards the foot of the mat in this position, and you'll probably find a deeper hip stretch. You can stay with this if you're not twisting, or you can open your body into your twist, resting onto your bolster or your block. Again, invite the breath deep into the abdomen so it massages the intestines and the lymph, the kidneys, the adrenal glands, stomach and the liver. Twists help compress and release the fluids that move through the tissue that's being twisted. This helps us alleviate stagnant energy, which leads to dis-ease. We work towards finding the ease. Let's exhale the foot back up and then bend the knee in towards the armpit. You can stay here and have happy baby or straighten the leg into a birds of paradise, grounding the opposite hip, reaching through the opposite leg for counterbalance. Fluid breath. And then exhale back to center. Either bring both feet up into the strap and reach into the middle to create some stirrups and bring the feet down with the soles of the feet facing the sky. Or if you have the flexibility, let go of the strap and reach for the outsides of your feet. Happy baby pose. And rock yourselves back and forth. Fluid breath. Twisting hip opening class today. Inviting the rivers of energy to flow through us. The wind and the bird song to flow through the branches. You can stay in happy baby, or you can open into Supta Upta Konasana, opening both legs long. Stay with your fluid and deep breath, inviting tissue that's stretching to relax on the exhales. And then gently bend the knees and bring the feet back to the floor. Somatic walking. And then today for Shavasana, I'm going to invite you to create a nest in Supta Baddha Konasana. So you can bring in your bolster, bring in your blocks for your knees, bring in a pillow to sit atop your bolster. If you'd like your bolster up at an angle, you can put something like a footstool under your bolster so your bolster is more angled. And we'll come into Supta Baddha Konasana with the blocks angled in to support the knees, the back laid out over the bolster. The sacrum can be right against the bolster, or your low back ribs can be on the edge of the bolster. The arms open and the heart opens, but the pelvis creates a nest. And we settle into the breath. We settle into the inner landscape. Feeling for the pranamaya kosha, the energy body. Extending into all of our physical tissues. See if you can really relax the scalp and the temples and the eyes. Breathe clarity into the third eye. And relax the muscles of the face and the jaw, muscles at the base of the skull and into the neck. Relax the muscles at the front sternum and between the ribs and into the back body, down the arms. Draw relaxing energy into the nests of the palms and the fingers. Breathe into awareness of the abdomen and the pelvis, relaxing any tension there. Relaxing the low back. Relaxing down the legs and into the feet. Then I began to listen. Then I was filled with gladness, and that's when it happened. When I seemed to float, to be myself a wing or a tree, and I began to understand what the bird was saying. And the sand in the glass stopped for a pure white moment while gravity sprinkled upward like rain rising. And in fact, it became difficult to tell just what it was that was singing. It was the thrush for sure, but it seemed to be not a single thrush, but himself and all his brothers, and also the trees around them, as well as the gliding, long-tailed clouds in the perfectly blue sky. All of them were singing. And of course, yes, so it seemed. So was I. One of the things the wise people say that is true is that once you've been there, you're there forever. Let's inhale movement gently back into the fingers and the toes. Really let yourself feel the movement. And invite movement into whatever stretch your body calls for, whatever movement feels right to you. All body, I see you, I feel you, I'm listening. And then, as you can, gently bring yourself to a comfortable seat. Let's spend a few moments breathing together here. Let's breathe in the trees and the birds and the bird song. Let's inhale our hands to our hearts. May we be aware of the songs, both in our external world and inside our internal landscapes. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you for your practice.